live, so I'm actually just going to start sharing. I didn't let anybody know I was going to do this, but I just wanted to share a little piece of my journey. I know that you guys have seen that I've posted like a daily dose. I call it a daily dose of some inspiration or messages or intuition that I receive from God of how I'm feeling about what's going on in the world around us or what's going on in general. So I want to encourage you and I want to support you, and we release those daily doses. And then a monthly word, we release a monthly written word, and then some verses. We release some verses for you to focus on, a verse of the day along with the daily dose. Hi. And so we release a daily dose and the verse of the day, and then we release a monthly one now. That's new for August, and you'll notice it every single day. And then once a week, a prayer that you can focus on daily for the week, and along with the messages, the daily messages, and there will be a focused intention. So in saying that, today's message was all about surrender. And today's message was about surrender, and it was about us being able to be patient and trust and have faith in the Lord, and that He's opening doors and things are happening in the supernatural without us even realizing it, and we need to exercise patience in faith. And I actually wanted to share the key to being able to unblock your blessing and the keys to being able to surrender, effectively so that we can unblock these blessings that God has for us. Hi. So I wanted to share a little bit about that, and how I wanted to share it is I want to share a little piece of my testimony. Of course, we have so many things that have happened to us in our lifetimes, and I would love to share a piece of my testimony in an area that I had to develop surrender. I had to develop trust. I had to continuously be patient. And what I learned from that experience, and I hope that it encourages you in case you are working on surrendering something to the Lord right now. So my message also was all about, sometimes we have desires, like we have earthly desires. We're desiring for, a job, money, possessions. We're desiring for children, for a husband or wife or a partner. We have all these desires that we want to achieve, and we have them in our heart. We carry them in our heart, and sometimes we're working so hard to get to these desires, but God has either a different desire, a different plan, a different time, like a different timing for that plan. He has a different way that He's going to get you there, or even get you beyond your desires and beyond what you even thought was possible. And it takes surrender to be able to do that. It takes surrender to be able to let go of our earthly desires, our fleshy desires, our worldly desires, and be able to surrender and trust the fact that the Lord has something greater. The Lord has His plans for us are greater. His plans for us are to be trusted. His plan for us, He's the one who put the desires in our heart. And if we could trust Him and surrender and truly surrender, everything will unfold. So now, how do we develop that trust when we're like hoping for something and praying for something and wishing for something and it just doesn't look like it's coming to pass? And how do we trust that God has the plan, and how do we actually surrender? It's easier said than done, right? Like, oh, surrender to God, just surrender to God, just surrender to God. It's easier said than done. How do we, in the moment, in the process, when there's something we're desiring so badly and we're either feeling so alone and so hopeless and so, wondering why me? Why isn't this happening for me? Why is it happening for everybody else and not me? How do we surrender and just be like, okay, I give it to you, God, and trust that it's going to happen? A lot of people believe that, if you have faith, you're just going to leave it to God and you're not going to do anything about it. No, that's not true, because faith without works is dead. So we always want to take the action. We want to be committed, but also pray and surrender to the Lord. So how do we unlock our blessings and surrender to His plan for our life, which is greater for our life? And I'll share just something that I went through in the past several years as I was building my family. It's very easy looking back, being able to say, oh, look, I'm going to share my story. We know the end of my story, or a piece of my story, the result was positive. But during my process, or a part of my process in my story, it wasn't that way. So I've always desired since I was a kid, like I've always desired to have a family and kids. And not that I was very domestic or I'm very domestic, because I'm not that domestic, but I still always in my heart desired children. I always in my heart and in my body and my soul thought that I would have children, to the point that I would be like, oh, I'm dealing with this psychological issue or these problems so that I don't pass it on to my kid. And I would always in the back of my mind think, oh, for my child this, and I didn't have children. So, but I always had a desire for children or a hope for children. Anyway, so as I went through my life, I had a boyfriend for like several years in my 20s, and our plans were to be married together, and I had hopes for that. In that process, my father passed away of cancer, and that changed a lot of things, and it added to the timeline. So I was 26 when my father passed away of cancer. And then during that time, I was really evaluating my life and my future and everything, and hoping that we would move forward. So by the time I was 30, so from 26 to 30, it was like in that serious relationship, we were not moving towards engagement or towards a home. We talk about it, but the action wasn't there. So we talk about it and hope for it and say the words, but the actions were not really in alignment with the proof that that's where we're headed in the future. So at 30 years old, I decided, this relationship isn't going to work for me. That desire in my heart to have a family and children, I really needed to pursue that desire. And unless the person was going to be truly committed or accept me as I am, then it's time to move forward. So I ended that relationship, and within, I desired a long-term committed relationship for marriage and to have children. And then God brought me my husband within that same year, and we started to date and then be committed to one another and eventually get engaged and get married. So along that path, what we came to find out as we started on both of our desires having children was that it was very difficult to have children. We didn't think that would be a problem, and we didn't know that would be a problem for us. So here we are encountering the problem of, are we even going to be able to have children? And for a while we were trying on our own, and every month, unsuccessful attempts, disappointments, unsuccessful attempts, disappointments. And then because we were in our 30s and approaching our mid-30s, we went to look into IVF. And at this time too, we were not born again Christians. We were starting to, from becoming Catholic, being Catholic and raised Catholic, we were starting to drift towards becoming born again Christians. But at that time we weren't. And so we did have a pastor, even though we weren't Christian, we were attending a church. So we were pursuing IVF and a doctor to help with infertility, a doctor to help us have children in case we were having trouble, which we were. So then we pursued that. That's a whole other journey. Like, I had to wake up every day, be downtown Toronto, which is like 45 minutes or an hour in traffic every single morning, 7 a.m. downtown Toronto, to take your blood work, to check your everything 7 days a week, every single holiday, all the time. And then go through this process, and this process of seeing if we can be pregnant every single month, and then waiting for test results every single month, and then waiting 2 weeks to find out, and then finding out that we're not, and then getting mentally ready to do it again, and getting mentally ready to do that again, and do it again, and do it again. So physically and mentally and emotionally, it was a very draining process and a challenging process. And every day I had to build my faith and say, God, give me the strength, first of all, to continue. God, give me the strength to get up and go downtown and do this all the time. God, give me the strength to try another round. God, give me the strength to endure whatever this is, and just give me the strength. Because above all else, I needed strength first, right? Physical, mental, emotional strength. And I was building my faith through this process. He was building my faith through this process. So after a whole year, another whole year of that wasn't working, failure after failure after failure after failure, tears after tears after tears, we pursued another doctor, and we went to another doctor to have a fresh new start, a little bit closer to our area, but still quite a ways away. And we met with that doctor, and we had hope, and we had hope still and the desire in our heart that we can have a family. So then we went to that doctor, and he told us how the process works, and we went to the next level of IVF. So we went to the next level of the process, and actually went into the IVF level of the process. So in doing that, he told us our risk. he told us what could happen. He told us, what to watch out for, etc. And now this became a new level of financial investment, like crazy level of financial investment in Ontario and Canada. The IVF investment is anywhere from 15 to 25,000, depending on what you need within each opportunity. So every single time, $15,000 to $20,000. And then on top of that, you have to take needles and hormones and all this stuff. So mental, physical, emotional process, and 7 days a week at the doctor, taking your blood, doing a procedure to take out your eggs, etc., and getting the news that things aren't looking good. So during this process, I had to ask God, why is everything so difficult? Why are you making this so difficult? You know that I want this, and you know that you put this desire in my heart. Why does it have to be so difficult? Why does it have to cost so much physically, mentally, emotionally? Why is my marriage going through the strain? Why are my finances going through the strain? Why is it like this? Why is it so difficult? And I asked why a lot, but through the process, God was asking me to trust him and not just put all my faith in a doctor, because medicine can't solve everything. Yes, he put doctors and medical procedures here to help us, but they can't solve everything. The whole process is with God. So I would ask him, how do I even surrender this? I actually had to get to a point where I was like, how about if I never have children? How about if we don't have children? Am I a failure of a woman? Am I a failure as a wife? Is my husband going to want to be with me? Are we going to be able to build a future together? Are we going to be able to be happy? I had to actually start to let go of the vision that I had of children and a family and everything, and try to envision a future without them. Try to envision a life without that, letting go of that desire and that hope and that plan. And I had to surrender that regardless which way it went, I could have a good life. Regardless which way it went, I could have a good future. Regardless which way it went, both futures can be exciting and fulfilling. I had to get to that point of true surrender and trust in God and say, listen, God, this is in your hands. You may choose children for me. You may not choose children for me. That may be a path that I have in my heart, but you don't have it for me. That may be something that I want, but may never come to pass. I had to get truly, not just fake it, but I had to truly get to the point of, you know what? My husband and I can have a pretty good life together with or without children. My husband and I could have a future together and a life together and design what that would look like, and totally let go of the fact that that may not be in our plans. That may not be what God has for us, and genuinely accept it and genuinely accept it. Not right now, mommy. No, not right now, mommy. And I had to genuinely accept it, and it had to come genuinely from my heart and say, God, that's my desire. You know my desire, but I am going to leave it in your hands. And whatever you want for me in my future, it is in your hands. There was a lot of disappointment, a lot of pain, a lot of struggle. So when we did our first round with this new doctor, all of the results were pretty terrible. It was terrible results where every day they would call me and say, oh, the eggs are dying. Oh, you don't have any more eggs left. Oh, you only have one. Oh, two are sort of making it, but hardly. It was heartbreaking. And I said, here we go again, disappointment after disappointment after disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. God, just give me strength. So I surrendered and said, you know what, God, it's all in your hands. Whatever you want, our life will still be great. I had to really picture that. So went to the doctors that morning that they were going to do an egg transfer if there was any eggs, which didn't look good. And we sat in his office that day and with Dr. Giro, that's who we used. And he said, listen, your results are pretty bleak. They're only getting worse over time. And basically you have no eggs. There's 2 left right now that may or may not make it. But based on your other eggs, we're getting very poor results. And you have about a 12 to 13% chance of this even working today. But miracles are possible. And don't fall off your chair if a miracle does happen, because sometimes it does go the other way. So just letting you know your results, science-wise, it's a 12 to 13% chance. So I was like, okay, well, what are you going to do? Like, we have to go into the procedure and we have to do it anyway. So we went into the procedure, we did it, and I said, you know, it's in your hands, God, and I let it be. So 2 weeks later, we get a result, and the result is that we were pregnant. And this was 5 years ago, and I have a beautiful, amazing, smart, incredible daughter. Her name is Sienna, and you guys see pictures of her all the time. And she's a miracle. So although the doctor was helping us, the science told us that the results were very slim. Like it wasn't going to happen for us. And I put all my faith in God and whatever his plan was for my life. And that regardless of what he chose, I would be fine with that. And then after years of trying, here we are at this new doctor in the first round, and a miracle did happen. And she is one of the brightest people I've ever met. And if you meet her, you'd be like, wow, here's a girl that almost shouldn't have existed unless it was a miracle. So if God wants something to happen, he will make it happen. The key is he has a plan for your life. The key is he has the desires, place the desires in your heart. And until and unless you truly surrender and trust him and let him, whatever his will is, be done, those things can't come to pass. They just can't come to pass no matter how much you push and force and try and force and try. They just can't. So what I learned through this process is a few keys to unblocking blessings, our blessings for our life that God has for our life. Not our desires, not our worldly desires, but the blessings God has destined for us for our life. The keys to unblocking these blessings is this. The first step is to surrender. Like, you know what? I do want this. I put all the action I could into it. I'm taking all the action necessary because faith without works is dead. I'm doing the best that I can do, and I'm just going to leave it in your hands, God. You know what I want, but your will be done, and I am okay and blessed regardless, and have a good attitude regardless of what the results are. That's key for step one. Like step one, that's absolutely key. Step two is accepting his will. Like, what he wants will come to pass, and not just accept it like, oh, okay, fine. Graciously, with gratitude, accept whatever his plan is for your life. Accept whatever that future is that he has planned for you. He is your father. He created you for something, and he has more blessings in store for you than you could even imagine. So if we could just accept what God has in store for us, then that's step number two to true surrender. So one is surrender to whatever his plan is to our life, but two is acceptance. Whatever you have for me, God, I accept it with gratitude, with worship, with gratefulness. And then the third step to true surrender is trust. Hey, I trust you, God. Like when I was pregnant, I was scared to tell people for like 5 or 6 months because it was IVF. And I was like the way they told me that about the eggs, and I just thought it might not make it, and then I thought she might not be healthy, or it may not be healthy, and then I was worried. I was worried about the process and if there was any damage and if something happened to the baby, etc. But God had a plan for this baby. God had a plan for what she looked like, what she sounds like, what her brain is like, what she acts like. God had a plan for that whole pregnancy. God had a plan to make her make it here and then make it through into the world. God has a plan for how long her life is, what her life is going to look like. So he has a plan. I had to learn through pregnancy and the IVF process. I have no control. I can do certain things, but I don't have ultimate control over the whole process, over her life. And as parents, we learn that we don't even have control over their life, what can happen to them, where they're going, if they're in danger, if something can happen to them. We do not have control. We have to surrender every single day. So I learned through that process of infertility how to surrender to God's will for my life, and that if God has a plan, he will make it happen regardless of science, regardless of the news, regardless of what the reports say, regardless of anything. If he has a plan, it is going to make it through regardless. And I'm happy to say that I surrendered, and we did have to go through the process again, and we have a brother for my daughter, and you guys see them. I have 2 beautiful kids. It was a process. It was a difficult process. It was a expensive process. It was a physically draining and taxing process. Like I have to get my health and body back into shape now after all of those hormones and all of that physical, mental, emotional stress. And it was a process, but I have two beautiful gifts from it. And they're amazing. As you guys know who have children, you know that they're amazing blessings from the Lord, from the way they speak and how they grow up, and just they're amazing. So I just wanted to share that there are 3 keys that I learned to surrender. Like, first, you do have to just even try to learn and fake it till you make, until you believe it. Pray and surrender to whatever God's will is for your life. Then accept his will, whatever it's going to be, it will be, and accept it graciously and with gratitude. And then trust whatever, hold on, Mama. Trust whatever his will is for our life. Can you come and say hi here? There's nobody there right now, but they want to see you because you're the first blessing. See? So this is Sienna, and she is who I'm talking about right now. Okay, let me just finish here 1 second. So trust whatever his will is for your life. Trust, trust, trust. And then I want you to know, never stop believing. He created you. He created you for a reason. He created you and has a plan for your life. It is better than what you could have ever imagined. And if you can surrender and trust and do what he's asking you to do in these steps, he will be able to fulfill that plan for your life. He will be able to deliver on that plan for your life. He will be able to use you for his purpose in that life. He will be able to show you what he planned for your life, which is so much greater than what you could have ever imagined. And that is part of the surrender process. As we build our faith, we could surrender more and more and more to his plan for our life. And we're able to be less afraid of letting go of our own desires, letting go of our own goals and our own wishes. Because what we learn through God, he is very miraculous. His vision is much greater. His gifts are much greater. His abundance is much greater. We are our thought process of what we wanted is so much more limited than what he has planned for our existence in our life. So although we're afraid to let go, when we let go, he recreates and shows us that we can trust him, that he has so much in store for us. Even today, I still ask why for some things. He still is faithful. He still delivers the miraculous. He still shows his promises over and over and over again. So worship him, love him, surrender to him, trust him. If you're dealing with anything like this, anything, whether it's to deal with, relationships, whether it's dealing with your marriage, whether it's dealing with your health or trying to have babies or a family or anything like this, financial challenges, whatever it is, please surrender to him. He has so much in store for you. He has so much in store for you, but the more you try to control it and push it and design it and create it and try to push your own will, the more he cannot work with you or use you to build, to show you what's coming to your life. So I shared a prayer that someone wrote about surrender. And this week, if you can focus on praying that prayer every day, as many times as you can, believing that prayer, apologizing for getting in his way, asking him to take over your life, asking him to help you learn how to surrender and trust, asking him to show you his plan for your life, close the doors that aren't for you and that don't align with his plans for your life. Rest in him and know that you don't have to push and push and push and push. He is going to help you get the answer. He's going to lead you there. It may not feel that way sometimes, but that's what he's doing. And what he needs from you is to relax, to let go, to trust, to believe, to build your faith, build your faith, build your faith. Keep taking action, keep taking that action in faith, build that faith, keep surrendering, and he will start to be able to come through. He will be able to come through and work through your life to cause the miraculous. So I just wanted to say, I hope that encourages you. And I just wanted to share that with you, like verbally, a story of what I went through to build my faith and learn how to surrender. The 3 keys that I learned through that period of my life. And I hope that it blesses you, encourages you, that you could use it through whatever you're going through. Because I know right now, a lot of us are challenged and working through some challenges. And God's showing me he's going to come through. He's coming through. He's coming through. He just needs you to relax, trust him, surrender to him. And he's working the miraculous. He is about to help you break through this big, big, big thing right now that has had a hold on your life. He's about to help you break through it forever. So I want you to just trust him, believe him, stand on these promises, pray stand on these verses this week, pray this prayer this week, and focus on surrender and trust in him. So I want to say thank you for listening and always tuning in. And I'm so grateful and blessed to be able to even just share pieces of my testimony with you. Tomorrow I'm going to be on live with a really good friend of mine, Liana Colonna. She wrote two amazing books, Faith and Love romance novels. And we're actually just going to be talking about a little bit more about my testimony and how I came to Christ. So that's tomorrow at 7 p.m. live Eastern Standard Time. We will be live talking about that. She has a few questions on how I came to Christ, and I'm looking forward to sharing about that. I'm looking forward to sharing that with you guys live tomorrow on my Instagram and her Instagram. And I hope this blessed you and encouraged you. And I pray that these keys to unblocking your blessings in focusing on how to surrender really, really support you in transforming whatever it is that's standing between you and that desire right now. So thank you for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.